Hello, everybody. Welcome to our One Piece review. I'm Gerell.
And this is Jose.
So we're going to talk about One Piece, starting from Chapter 1. Every episode is going to be essentially every major story arc. We're not going to talk about entire sagas. That there's a lot to talk about if we talk about whole sagas. We're going to talk about story arcs specifically. For example, we have the Romance Dawn arc, which is the first one, that features chapters 1 through 7. After that is the Orangetown arc, and then Syrup Village, Barati, Arlong Park, and so on. Whereas sagas are the more broad strokes, for example, the whole East Blue saga. Then you have the Alabasta saga, Skypiea, Inez Lobby, Water 7, that sort of thing. We're going to break it down into smaller chunks than that. So for this first episode, we're just going to cover Romance Dawn, chapters 1 through 7. But before we begin, I wanted to talk about what our relationship with the franchise is. So, Jose, what was your first experience with One Piece as a whole?
Yes, I think the first time I ever heard of One Piece was, uh, I don't think they have this anymore, but it was during the kids block, the four kids block on my channel. It was channel 35 and the Fox channel. So every Saturdays they had cartoons and mostly anime, I think.
It was the Fox Box,
Uh,
right? The Fox Box
The
cartoon?
Fox blocks. Yeah, I think it was that. But it was done by the Four Kids people. So I guess now it's very infamous of how different the dubbing was compared to the most well to the the other English ones that we have now that's more common. But
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
Funimation dub. That's the one that's
Funimation.
more
Yeah.
well known now. Because back then, 4Kids had to censor quite a bit because they didn't realize that this show was never meant for an American child demographic. Because Japanese children
Yeah.
and American children are exposed to different types of cartoons. And this one
Mhm.
features quite a bit of violence, some gore. I mean, children get shot in this series. And we can't have that on American TV.
No.
As well as
Yeah.
more infamously, you had Sanji, a character we'll be talking about in a future episode. He's a smoker, and they censored his cigarette with a lollipop.
Mhm. And then I think also there's another character that comes out later on, Smoker. I think he's called Chaser
Yes,
in the Four Kids one,
they
and
changed entire names.
they got rid of like his cigars of his design. So now he's just some gray guy with smoke coming out of his mouth, which I guess it doesn't make sense anymore because he's called Chaser now. So
Right.
um, mhm.
They made some weird
But
choices, but I understand the whole smoking thing, because you don't want kids to emulate what they see on TV. But what can
yeah.
you do?
Yeah. But yeah, that was the first time I ever saw or heard of One Piece. I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan when I first saw the first episode. I liked the intro. Weirdly enough, I thought it was catchy. I still like it. A little guilty pleasure, but it might have been one of my first few experiences with anime. That and Pokemon. But yeah, I saw it. I don't think I had friends who were fans of it, so I didn't really had any other points of view. So I thought, it's okay. I'll watch Ninja Turtles instead.
Yeah, that was also on at the same time.
Yeah. And how about you, man? What's your first experience with One Piece?
Mine's was when I was in the fifth grade. I was 10 years old, and I picked up a magazine out of a CVS rack because it had Yusuke Urameshi on the cover. It was a Shonen Jump magazine, and
Ah.
they had issues of One Piece in there. I believe the chapters that I was reading was um, the next story arc we're going to talk about between Luffy, Buggy, and Zoro. And the main character Zoro lifted Luffy onto his back, even though he was injured. And I just thought that was super cool and super manly.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was my first experience reading One Piece. Um, the cartoon that you're talking about, I watched on occasion. I wasn't a huge
Mhm.
fan of it. I couldn't really get into Luffy's voice or anything because I wasn't used to female voices coming out of male bodies. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, Ash Ketchum was always voiced by a female, but I
Hmm.
always thought it was strange. But yeah, I wasn't really into the anime that much. I was mostly into reading it. I mean, that's how I feel about the majority of animes. I'm not a huge fan of anime exactly. I would rather read
Mhm.
the mangas because I feel like that's where the author's intent mostly is.
Right.
But I've been reading on and off for years ever since, and I'm caught up to the most recent chapter.
Oh, all right. Yeah. I mean, we're recording this as of late March of 2022, so if you're hearing this after that day, I mean, really big changes happened, and I don't think we want to get too much into it, but definitely it paid off that 20 plus year buildup of what's going on now.
Yeah, to date the recording, chapter 1044 just came out this Sunday for us American audiences who ain't trying to find it online elsewhere. We're using the official Shonen Jump app to read these
Yes.
chapters, and I prefer to support the official release. So I don't read the leaks or any of the scans or anything. I rather read the Viz Shonen Jump versions as they come out in
Hmm.
the States because I'm a creator. I make my own videos, cartoons, and such, and I feel like supporting creators whenever I enjoy a product. But that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta support the little guys like One Piece, you know?
Yeah, little Oda and his millions.
I know.
All right, but let's get into it. So, chapter one, Romance Dawn. That starts with our main character, Luffy. I believe he's 7 years old in this chapter here. And we first see him trying to prove how tough he is. And he does so by stabbing himself in the face.
uh,
So, he's trying
at
to
first,
impress. Go ahead.
oh yeah, at first I was like, okay, let's see. I read the panel, it's like, this is how tough I am. I'm like, what's he gonna do? Stab himself? And then the next panel is just him with like the blade full like on his cheek. I'm like, oh,
Mm hmm.
he's not messing around.
Nope. Go ahead and stab yourselves in the face, kids. That's how you prove how tough you are. So he's trying to impress this local pirate crew that's captained by red-haired Shanks, and they're just parking in town in broad daylight, and no opposition whatsoever. So I guess like this town is totally fine with just having pirates around.
Hmm. Yeah, that's that I didn't thought of it until now, but that's right. Like I guess at at this time, like they were kind of like okay with pirates. Like I don't think anyone else wanted to mess with. I mean, we know there's another group that got involved later on that did, but even though they were pirates, they were pretty cool, and they were kind of like just like chilling at this point.
Yeah, it's a very
So
casual town.
yeah.
But I also appreciate that the story doesn't front load us with lore. It just gets right into the action. You know, like if you pick up a fantasy book these days, it'll give you like at least a chapter or two of like what the land's like, what the technology's like. This one doesn't do that. It just throws us right in. But
Yeah, then I like uh I guess this first chapter was pretty long compared to regular chapters, but it does give like little hints of like the buildup of the One Piece world
right,
and
it
like
drops hints
everything that
as we go
happens
along.
throughout. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Captain Shanks or Red Haired Shanks, he's Luffy's role model and his idol. Luffy looks up to this guy and he wants to be like him. Uh, Luffy wants to grow up to become a pirate just like Shanks and his crew, and he wants his punches to be as strong as a pistol. And we'll notice that later on as a lot of his shonen anime techniques, because every anime has a shout out whatever fighting technique they're using. His tends to be
Mhm.
about weaponry, guns, ammunition, that sort of thing. So we'll see that more
Yeah.
later on.
Hmm.
But the first mate tells Luffy that in order for him to be a pirate, he has to commit acts of pillaging, hostage taking, heavy alcohol consumption, and swimming, which Luffy can't do because he can't swim. He's just bad at it. And so they gave him the nickname Anchor. You can see that over his shirt as well because he just sinks. And I relate to that. I couldn't swim as a kid. I wasn't able to swim until I was in my early 20s. So I feel that.
I mean, I still can't swim, so I
Well,
look
there
up
you
to
go.
Luffy.
We'll both be terrible pirates. So as the chapter goes on, some bandits show up. They break a bottle of booze over Shanks' head, and then they just leave. But Shanks and crew just thinks it's sort of funny for some reason, and they just start having a laugh. But Luffy is just not having it. He starts berating all the adults. And during the confusion, we find out that he's actually eaten one of their secret fruits, specifically the gum gum fruit, which is a supernatural fruit that was in one of the treasure chests. And so we get some information about the gum gum fruit, or for a lot of the Japanese anime fans, they'll know it as the gomu gomu no mi, which is how you pronounce gum gum fruit in Japanese. It is known as the fruit of the devil, one of the secret treasures of the sea. If eaten, your entire body becomes like rubber and you lose the ability to swim. But he never had the ability to swim in the first place, so it's more of a win-win for him.
Should we talk about a little bit more about the devil fruits, or should we just talk about this one in specific?
Let's talk about the devil fruits as they come.
As they come. All right.
Yeah, because as of right now, this is the only devil fruit that we know of. And so far, it just makes his body rubber-like. Like, he's able to stretch his limbs out. His body has the properties of rubber. We'll learn more about that as we go, and the limitations of his body. But yeah, it makes him very unique, very weird.
I was thinking of it because if Luffy didn't eat it, then I wonder who would have eaten it. I think the obvious answer could have been Shanks, because the fruit was resting near him. So I was thinking maybe he was planning at eating it at some time before Luffy came in and accidentally ate it.
Plus, I'm sure these fruits are worth quite a bit of money as well.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah. So then I was starting to think, like, oh, what would like a rubber man Shanks would look like? That would have been interesting.
You know, he actually mentioned earlier in this chapter that losing your ability to swim or not being able to swim will make you a poor pirate.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe, in his opinion, it's not worth eating a devil fruit. Because as far as we're aware, he doesn't have one. But maybe that'll be revealed later on.
That is true. Knowing a little bit of One Piece knowledge, I see that this first chapter, they have a lot of, like, they show like a lot of importance on swimming. So I'm guessing no one in Shanks' crew have a devil fruit ability that would take away their ability to swim.
Not that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of, which I think it is it's more of a safe approach for it too.
Yeah, I mean, even historically, a lot of pirates are known for being on and off ship, whether in the ocean or what have you. Because once you're overboard, you're kind of boned at that point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can't swim and you can't use your ability, which is a double whammy. Which sucks.
Yeah, there's a huge risk to eating a devil fruit.
Yes. But I don't, like we seen later on in the chapter, I don't think they want to rely on the devil fruit, because they're pretty intimidating pirates when they need to. Like we see later on when they face off the mountain bandits.
We'll get there.
Okay, yeah.
But speaking of which, so Shanks and crew, they leave, and some time has passed, and the mountain bandits come back, and they start some shit, and the pirates are already gone, and they start talking trash about Shanks and Luffy, who's still a kid, by the way. He has not grown up yet at this point. They've only been gone for maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. But this little kid tries to fight them, and he ends up getting beat up instead. And the bandits start to notice that their punches and kicks don't seem to work on him. And it's probably because he's made out of rubber. You know, he's very malleable. I'm sure trying to break a bone that's made of rubber is extra stretchy and has a lot of like resilience to bludgeoning damage per se.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because he also loses a tooth, so he can't be that resistant. But Shanks and crew, they end up showing up and they save Luffy and they start killing the bandits. And they give off an entirely different vibe than their first encounter. Before, they're very casual, very silly, very goofy. But now they ain't messing around. They're coming to fight. And so the bandit leader, he manages to escape during the scuffle, and he ends up kidnapping Luffy. He tries to hide on a tiny little rowboat in the middle of the ocean, open ocean, which is kind of weird to me because he's hiding from sea pirates, who's known for, being in the ocean. But sure.
Yeah. I also wanted to give a shout out to one of my favorite characters, which we don't know a whole lot of, but Lucky Roo, man, he's a true pirate.
We don't even get his
That
name
was
yet.
scary. Oh, I don't
Yeah,
think
they
he
have
has
not
yet.
name dropped anybody except for Shanks. Like, they even call his first mate just first mate.
Oh, you're right, huh? Oh,
Crazy, right?
yeah. I mean, I guess if you look through the different characters he has, we also see another pirate mate called Yasop, but we don't know who exactly he is. He's just another member of his crew too.
Yeah, he has his name on his forehead headband.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still know very little about Shanks' crew, and we don't know much about the world. We don't know much about Luffy. He's very slow on the draw when it comes to who is inhabiting this world, all the rules of the world is, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they slowly coming in, so it's not just like a whole like full on lecture, like starting from the get go, but it's just kind of takes it one step at a time, I think.
Yeah, this is no Silmarillion from J.R.R. Tolkien. This is very fast, and I like that.
Yep.
But so the bandit has kidnapped Luffy, and he throws him into the open ocean, knowing that he can't swim, seeing as how he has eaten a devil fruit. And so this series is showing a child drowning. No child is safe
We
in this
we
story, apparently.
we see a full grown adult kick a child out of the boat so he could
Multiple grown
drown.
adults beating the crap out of a child, literally curb
Yeah.
stomping him, and then throwing him in the ocean to drown.
Yep. And then 4 kids decided to dub their
Yeah,
children.
they didn't even. Well, to be fair, comparing the manga to the anime, it's a little weird. The anime starts it starts on episode 2, and we don't get Luffy's backstory until later on. I think like episode 4 or 5 or
Later
so.
on. Yeah.
And so they may have only watched maybe like the first 2 episodes and said, "Yeah, sure, we'll take this one." But I digress.
But
So as Luffy is drowning, a sea serpent rises up from the ocean depths and surprises the bandit. He turns around, looks at it, and it just eats him whole. He is done, gone, dead. And then it tries to eat Luffy. But luckily, he is saved by Shanks just in time. And he apparently just swam all the way out there because you don't see his boat or anything. He just booked it. And Shanks just looks at the creature, just dead in the eye. Just a complete stare down. It gets intimidated by him and it flees the scene. And Luffy is saved, but it's at a terrible cost. Shanks' left arm.
oh
And
man, that part took me like that. I wasn't expecting it. Like the
no.
first time I went around it. When I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is hardcore.
Yeah, the stakes have been
He,
raised with this one
yeah,
act. But he's taking it in stride. He's real chill about it. Because sometime
no,
later,
no.
he's just up and about, still doing his pirate thing. He's not retiring or nothing. And Shanks and crew are about to set sail out to sea once more, saying goodbye to Luffy's village. Because apparently they've been parking there for a bit too long. And they're going to go out to their next destination, which I made a note of. They're specifically going north. And we don't know what is north of Luffy's village. We don't really have a grasp of the geography yet. And Luffy tells him that he's going to be a better pirate and have a better pirate crew than Shanks, claiming that one day he's going to become king of the pirates. Shanks says that, okay, kid, you're on, but hold on to my little trusty hat. You can give it back to me once you become a great pirate. And he leaves,
No,
which
man.
is interesting to me because he says we're king of the pirates, but what does that mean? Pirates don't have a monarchy. Pirates aren't a country. But sure, I'm into it.
Mhm.
10 years later,
Actually,
Luffy is a
speaking
teenager
of
and he's setting out on sail on his own little rowboat. And he rolls up onto the sea snake that just bit off Shanks' arm 10 years prior and just punches him in the face with this lovely 2-page spread. Just decks him. I wonder how long he's been holding on to that, just that pent up rage, you know?
it's really well composed. It's a really good composition of it. I like it. Like it's
Absolutely.
really
You can
well
tell
done.
just from the hatch marking that he spent a long time on just this 2-page spread. Like, even just the details on the waves and such, beautiful. And so that's the end of
Yeah.
chapter 1. It's a real dense chapter. A lot happens. We establish a lot of relationships with Luffy, who he is, his connections to people, where he came from, and why he's fighting so hard to be king of the pirates, to go out and even be a pirate in the first place. It's good
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
After this chapter, I'm going to start breezing through this instead of giving the play by play because chapter 1 is very dense. We had a lot of lore, a lot of information dumped on us. But the rest of the series is going pretty quickly, so I'm gonna speed this along a little bit. So,
Okay. Yeah.
chapter 2, we meet Kobe. He's a cabin boy to a female pirate known as Lady Alvida. Kobe is just a normal kid, and he's used and abused by Alvida's pirate crew. And again, this series just loves beating up children. This is a very simple chapter. Luffy just sort of rolls up, just like he did on a sea snake, and just punches Alvida right in the face. He just takes Kobe and just
Mhm.
leaves. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Apparently, Luffy also doesn't know how to navigate, and he's just been drifting around randomly. That's not a very wise thing to do, buddy, but sure.
He did get sucked out in the whirlpool, and oh, I just I just laughed like where he looked at it. He was like, "Oh, okay. I guess this is it then. Oh
Well,
well, let's
guess
see
I'll
what
die.
happens." Then hops into the barrel.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have a lot of forethought. He's a very reactionary character, which is a little strange considering he's the protagonist, but I guess that also is influenced by the fact that Luffy was conceived as a pseudo Goku esque character. A lot of characters that was written in manga in the late '90s, such as Naruto, who was also based off of Goku, as well as Luffy. They both came out at roughly the same time. I think they're only maybe a year
Yeah,
apart. They were both heavily inspired by Akira Toriyama's Goku from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. How they're not very intelligent, but they got street smarts. They're quick on their feet, and they have some pretty solid social skills. The people around them pretty much help them in ways that they can't help themselves.
they do have a lot of mentors. Like as growing up, um, that they
Well,
were.
Naruto does.
I was gonna.
So far, Luffy seems to be very self-taught. The only mentor he's had is Shanks, and mostly Shanks just sort of laughs at him.
Yeah. I was gonna say even the mayor of his village was kind of like looking out for him because I think in one part who is it mm, Makimo, the lady who owns the tavern, she goes up to him first, which I thought was kind of interesting, and he was willing to like give out like his money to save him, but then the mountain bandit was like, nah, this kid's like picking me off.
Yeah, he has some adult figures, but not
Mhm.
in the way that Goku does per se. The inspiration
No.
seems to be more based off of their own personal personalities, but I can see that. The mayor was definitely the type who was protective, especially since he was a child getting beaten by some bandits.
Also,
So
I like how. Oh, I was gonna say I like Makino was or Makino what's her name? Makimo. Yeah, I thought she was also kind of like a big sister to Luffy at the time because he was always like hanging around with the tavern with her.
I thought she was his mom for a bit, but apparently not.
No, no, I don't know. I don't think there is any direct relation. I think it's just her and who just happened to live in the same village with
Nah,
Luffy.
that just seems to be his favorite hangout because that's Shanks' favorite hangout, and he's just trying to
Mm-hmm.
emulate the rest of the pirates.
Yeah.
So back to Luffy and Kobe. They land on an island with a Marine naval base because Kobe wants to be a Marine. Also, this series seems to switch back and forth between Marine and Navy depending on what iteration of the manga you're reading or what version of the anime you're listening to or watching. In this world, it seems that Marine and Navy is interchangeable, whereas for us, me and Jose are Americans, our military branch is distinctively different than that. Marines and Navy are completely different branches of our militia, whereas in One Piece they seem to be one and the same. So if we say Marine, if we say Navy, they're both the same thing in the One Piece universe. But Kobe wants to be one of them. He wants to enlist, and Marines are natural enemies of pirates, which is an interesting dynamic because Luffy dreams of being a great pirate. Kobe dreams of being a great Marine. They're naturally opposed because essentially pirates are bandits, outlaws, that sort of thing, and Marines are the police, to put it simply. And so they're going to have a clashing relationship if they ever meet out at sea again, which I find very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, Luffy is looking to build his crew. So he is here on this island looking for a specific guy that he's been hearing about, Roronoa Zoro. And if you're reading the manga along with us or reading it for yourself, they changed Zoro's name to Zolo in the English version, specifically for copyright reasons, because, you know, the Mask of Zorro, that sort of thing, that book franchise and film franchise, they don't want to risk a lawsuit. So they switched the R with the L, which is silly, but we're going to be calling him Zoro in this review.
I think it was also because in Japanese language, right? Isn't the R and the L interchangeable sounds?
Yeah,
Or
when you translate it to English, the two letters are interchangeable because the Japanese don't really have the L sound.
okay,
But yeah, it's kind of for both of those reasons.
yeah. Because
But we're
I
just
know I know. Just going back to Dragon Ball, I know like that happened with Krillin. In the U.S., he's Krillin, but I think in Japanese or yeah, in Japanese he's like Kuririn instead.
Kuririn,
It's- yeah,
or as I used to say, Kuririn,
Kuririn.
Korean. But yeah, so we're going to be calling him Zoro from here on.
Yeah.
So he is tied up in an almost crucifix fashion because apparently he stabbed the Marine captain's son's wolf dog thing for harassing a small girl and is strung out on a post because Helmeppo is his name. He's just been terrorizing all the civilians because his dad's a feared man. He's a powerful guy, throwing his weight around, making them pay hella taxes and everything. And they can just do whatever they want with no resistance. And Zoro is one of the few people who has resisted them openly. And they're not
Yeah.
having it. So they strung him to a post and was going to execute him. However, they came up with a deal. If he can last a month in this condition, no food, no shelter, no nothing, then he's free to go. And Luffy finds him in his predicament. He tries to recruit him, but is told no. Zoro refuses to become, quote unquote, a lowly pirate.
I thought that was kind of funny too. Like he just goes up to him. He's like, "Hey, you want to join me?" He's like, "No, just leave me alone."
No, dude, pirates suck. Ugh.
Like, you know who I am? I hunt pirates.
That's my
I'm the
job.
pirate
I
hunter.
hunt pirates.
I
Because
think
that's
even
also his
Luffy
nickname,
knew about
Pirate
that.
Hunter Zoro. Not
Yeah,
just Zoro
yeah.
the Bounty Hunter, Pirate Hunter Zoro.
It just went over his head. It's like, he should join my pirate crew, huh?
He'd make a great pirate. So Luffy and Zoro, not Luffy and Zoro, Luffy and Kobe end up leaving, and they hear from the captain's son, Helmeppo, that Zoro is going to be executed within 3 days. Their deal was supposed to last a month, but Helmeppo is going to kill him instead in those 3 days. Hearing that, Luffy, again, this is his thing, he just decks him in the face and decides to break Zoro out and make him join his crew. That seems to be how he solves a lot of his problems, just punching whoever is in his way in the face. You know what? I
Yep.
respect that. So Luffy and Kobe, they go to the Marine base once again. They inform Zoro of the execution date and they try to free him. But one thing that stood out to me, and I'm going to be a broken record on this one, Kobe gets shot during this time,
Yeah.
and he's also just a kid, just gets straight up shot.
Yeah, he's like a little younger than Luffy.
Yeah,
Uh,
we don't really get an age on him, but he's this
no.
short, petite little chubster, and he just gets shot. In fact, a little earlier, the Captain Morgan, he wants Helmeppo to execute the little girl in this chapter, the one that Zoro was saving, and even orders a
Oh,
Marine to
that's right.
execute
Yeah.
this girl. It's like, what is it with these grown adults and beating and maiming and killing kids? I don't get it.
I mean, the Morgan even like ordered someone to do it before Himilpo, I think, and then he refused and then kill him on the spot, like
Right. He just
which was
slices into him. So
wild.
this just proves that we can't trust bandits. We can't trust the Marines, the law enforcement. We can only really trust pirates. And they've confirmed that they kidnap people and pillage. So no one can be trusted. Nobody. This is a chaotic neutral world.
But they also sing and dance, so there's that
Well,
too.
there's that. I can trust someone who can sing and dance. So the Marines arrive after shooting Kobe, and the firing squad is with them, and they're about to kill Zoro too. Meanwhile, we get this really sad flashback of Zoro's childhood, where him and his best friend slash rival character, Kuina, who's a female swordsman, they promise each other that one of the two is going to become the world's greatest swordsman. Either Zoro or Kuina are going to become the world's greatest swordsman. Gender be damned, because according to Kuina's father, women can't be swordsmen because women are naturally weaker than men. And Zoro says that's bullshit. You can be whatever you want to be, you know? And I respect that coming from him because this is true to life. You shouldn't hold yourself back based off of what sex you are, you know?
Yes. Zoro's a true ally. I'm glad he stood up for his beliefs.
For real.
Mm.
Unfortunately, Kuina tragically dies the next morning after she falls down some stairs. And I'm straight up mad about that because, again, a kid just freaking died. And Kuina was such a
Yeah,
cool
once
character.
again, this is like what the fifth child that gets hurt. Well,
More
this time
child
they
endangerment.
died. Child endangerment.
But yeah, she was set up to be such a cool character because Zoro is supposed to be
Yeah.
the toughest guy on the island, and he's like 7 or 8 or something. He's a little pint-sized runt, and he's beating up grown adults. And she can take him on and beat him flawlessly. Their score is 2,001-0. Like, undefeated win streak against this guy who's super badass. And she dies so unceremoniously. I mean, it's true to life. Anyone can die at any point from almost anything.
Man,
But she was set up to be such a cool character. Like, I would have loved to see her later down the line. But her life was cut short. And that's true to life, man. It sucks.
she was the daughter of the of the teacher, right?
Yeah,
Of
she
the
was the
sword
dojo
teacher,
master's daughter.
dojo master. I think at some point, like there was some kids, right, that were like making rumors, like, "Oh, Sensei, you're teaching her other moves, right? Because she's your daughter." But
And
then,
he's just like, nope.
like, no, she's just better than you.
Yep, get good, kid. But back to the present, Luffy arrives in time to save Zoro by placing his gross-ass rubbery body in the line of fire. And he just straight up reflects the bullets. Like, he doesn't just deflect bullets, he just stands his ground and repels them back at who shot him. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna
that
pause real
was
quick.
another cool panel too. He's just stands in front of him and actually just bounce off the bullets off everyone.
Yeah, it just shows just how resilient this guy is. But I'm gonna pause real quick, and this is gonna be the last time I talk about this because again, I'm a broken record. How does Luffy know he's bulletproof?
Huh.
That means he's been shot before. Who shot
That's
him
a
and
good
when and where? He must have been a kid when he was shot the first time he found out he was bulletproof. And again,
I
kids
mean,
are
I,
not safe.
I mean, I think now he's not that old. I mean, I think he's like
He's
16,
17 technically.
18. He's 17. He's still a kid.
Yeah, he's not a legal adult. So sure.
I still think anyone under 20 is not an adult.
I mean, we
But
eventually learned that
uh,
Zoro's only 19.
yeah,
So
but
I mean, that's
that's
shown in
an
anime for you. Everyone's
yeah.
younger than your normal. Well, let me take it back. Shonen Jump is aimed at a younger audience, typically middle school children, and so a lot of the
Uh-huh.
characters will be younger. Like when I was growing up, anime mostly had main characters that was 14 years old. Again, like Yusuke
Uh,
Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho. He was only 14, and he was a street gang member. Well, sort of. He was a lone thug essentially, and everyone else was a part of street gangs.
mhm.
But yeah, most shonen anime heroes are pretty young. Like Naruto, he's only 12, and he's technically a child soldier. You know.
Oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah, that's another topic that I have very strong opinions about. But anyway, we're here about One Piece, not Naruto. So Luffy hands Zoro his swords, all three of them, which is interesting because he's known as Two Sword Zoro in the flashback when he was a kid. Now he's known as Three Sword Zoro because when Kuina passed on, he requested to have her sword from her dad, and he added that to his arsenal. So now he uses three swords at the same time. The other one is held in his mouth. I mean, that's awesome, but hey, this is a very cartoony series, and I'm all about it.
I think if I ever seen anyone with three swords, I don't think I wanted to fight him because, I mean, I'm pretty sure one sword's already hard enough, and then three swords now. I don't. I think
A knife
think
would
I'm
make more
quit.
sense, but having a full size sword in your teeth, you're gonna lose your teeth.
He just trains his teeth too.
He has
That's
to.
how
He
dedicated
chews
he
only
is.
the hardest of bubblegum to train those teeth.
He ties like a weight and then does like reps with his molars and stuff. You know.
Teeth bench presses. That's what he does. Or teeth pull ups. He does pull ups with just his teeth. So,
He also drinks his milk.
God, he has to. So Luffy and Zoro end up taking out the entire crew, every Marine, and Captain and Son included. It was a pretty awesome fight, well choreographed. And at the end of all of it, Zoro agrees to become a member of Luffy's crew. He swears his loyalty to him because he saved him and becomes a pirate. And it also doesn't help that, because even Zoro mentions this, he's killed some Marines probably and is now an outlaw. So his career is essentially over.
Yeah. However,
And
there is one. There is one. I guess there is like a condition that he set up with Luffy by becoming his pirate,
yes, he
his
mentions that if he
crewmate.
has to give up his dream in any way of becoming the world's greatest swordsman, he is out.
Yeah.
As in, you will lose me as a pirate if you force me to give up my dreams.
Yep. And then Luffy's like, I could do that.
Sounds good. And so Luffy and Zoro leave the island. Kobe enlists with the Marines, and they set sail for the Grand Line, which is the first time we ever get a destination for Luffy and crew.
Mhm.
And that is the end of the first arc of Romance Dawn. So we went from this lone kid going out to sea on a little rowboat to now we have two people in our pirate crew. And we got a pretty badass dude on our crew, which is great. And for full transparency, Zoro is by and large my favorite character in all of One Piece, so I'm very pleased with this.
Mhm. I I wasn't much of a fan for Kobe the first time around, but seeing his little moments in the manga, it makes me like appreciate him more. Cause
Absolutely. He's such a scared little
yeah,
runt, but he's inspired by Luffy to summon that bravery to do what he needs to do. He stood up against Alvida, someone who has been his slaver essentially for 2 years, even at the risk of his own life. He puts his life on the line to rescue Zoro, someone he's terrified of, someone that he's literally called a demon incarnate, and he gets shot for it. Like, this kid he's got willpower for days.
yeah.
Does he does good stuff when his mind is put to it, and I appreciate that.
Then I also see that if it weren't for his like appreciation for Luffy, I don't think he would have seen how like firsthand like how corrupt the Navy could be under like the like worst leaders. And then
Maybe.
at I think I think at some point he was cheering for Luffy and he was like, "Yeah, Luffy, take down this lousy Navy base." And then Luffy's like, "Yep, I'm gonna do that."
Yeah, because what
But
if he came across this base on his own, like he managed to escape Alvida on his own, comes to this base and ends up just like the other Marines, where they are following unlawful orders from Captain
mhm,
Morgan? Because that was his thing. He was a corrupt Navy officer who essentially saw everyone else as lesser because his rank was highest, and he treats them like they're his subjects. When you're, as like a law enforcement type of person or a military personnel, you're supposed to serve your people. You work for them. Their taxes pay you. They don't work for
mhm,
you. They're not supposed to bow down to you specifically. And
yeah.
what if Kobe never opened his eyes and saw that and he just became one of the riffraff,
Mhm.
That'd be so unfortunate. So,
Um,
for our next episode, we're going to be discussing uh, Orangetown. And I was thinking, because Orangetown is such a short story arc, I was
uh-huh.
thinking we can probably combine Orangetown and Syrup Village into one bigger episode. And these reviews are going to go by a little faster because Romance Dawn is so dense of a story. We have a lot of setup, and it kind of hits the ground running from there. It's a very fast paced series. And so we're going to be covering those for the next episode.
Okay. Sounds
So,
good.
so how do you feel about the story so far, Jose?
I like how they combine like silliness and also uh moments of silliness, but also moments of action. Because I think at least in my experience before, like I always thought like, oh, it could only be one or the other before um before it can be considered like a full comedy or a full action. But I like this balance, like how it goes back and forth. It's like it can be silly when it needs to be, but when to become serious, it's definitely gets serious. Um, like have we seen like just characters like put in their lives on the line, and there's like actual like consequences going on and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I can't help but look at this from American eyes. And
Hmm.
our cartoons, our comic books, seem to be just one thing at a time. You're either a full on comedy with very little action, or you're an action with very little comedy. You rarely see anything that's an even 50-50, let alone something that's typically made for younger audiences, younger males specifically, in the case of Shonen Jump. You don't see that in American cartoons that talk about something so deep, such as the death of a childhood friend or corrupt leadership. You don't see that often, and I appreciate that.
And I think visually too, I think the art's pretty. It's really charming. I like how round it is. I like a lot of the characters. You look at them and you kind of could tell of their personality just on like little hints of it. Like Kobe, I see that a lot of the times he's drawn, he's slouching or like he has like a scared expression. Where someone like Luffy, he's just kind of like he's always like standing tall and he's kind of
Yeah,
like very happy, like a very jolly,
very
a jolly
upright
fellow. Hmm.
compared to Kobe's slouchiness, as you were saying, and he's very round, not very angular, not
Hmm.
very tough looking, just very soft.
Yeah.
And for a little background, this isn't Oda's first story. Ichiro Oda, the author, he's written many manga before that, including a manga called Monsters. And One Piece, this is like, I believe, his third or fourth iteration of One Piece, actually. He had two more rough drafts before this one. In fact, for a few of them, Shanks wasn't even featured in them. I think this is the only one where Shanks is actually featured. His mentor figure was his grandpa, I believe, who
Yeah.
also had the straw hat.
Yeah, there's a little similarities that got drafted onto what's now One Piece, but I think before it was known as Romance Dawn, I believe, right?
I
Like
believe
before.
so. Maybe
Yeah.
Romance Dawn was the name of the series before then,
Mhm.
which is strange to me because there's no real romance so far, and not a lot of romance going on here fourth. But maybe it's like romanticizing, or the actor romanticizing. Maybe that's why the title's
Yeah.
called Romance Dawn. Like
Yeah, I
thinking
think
back
it's
to an
mhm.
era and glorifying it with nostalgia.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm surprised you actually enjoy the style because from what I know from people trying to get into One Piece, it's very difficult for the first part, such as the East Blue Saga as a whole. A lot of people don't really enjoy it because it's so comedy heavy. The characters are silly. The art style is very soft and rubbery. No pun intended. But for us, since you and I went to essentially animation school, we are kind of trained to appreciate different art styles and such because the art style doesn't necessarily reflect on the content of the show.
Mhm.
But for a lot of folks, seeing is believing, and we always judge books by their cover, even if we try not to. It's hard not to have that judgment, and it may also just be not their cup of tea. You know, not everyone's into the same thing. Not everyone's into this sort of
Mhm.
loosey goosey actiony type of thing.
I think as maybe if maybe we don't want to like say too much about it, but I think another reason people don't want to get onto One Piece as well is just the how many chapters and how many episodes there are now,
Oh yeah,
how lengthy it is, but I feel like um I think we'll hope to get onto this arc later on, but there's a couple ones that definitely incorporate the what makes One Piece very special later on, and I'm thinking about Arlong Park, just the different aspects of it. And I feel like at some point, if you appreciate the story, the characters, the world building, just everything else that happens on around it, like the length doesn't become a problem anymore. But I also understand that people have things to do, so they just want to get on to the point.
oh
But
yeah.
I feel like if you dedicate your time to One Piece, I don't think you regret it. I think there's definitely a little bit of everything
And there's no
for
rush
most
either.
people. Hmm.
There's no rush at all because it's over 1,000 chapters of the manga, over 1,000 episodes. It's crazy. But since you brought up Arlong Park, which is a future story arc, most people who love the show end up getting on board around Arlong Park because that's when all the setup that Oda likes to do comes to a head. All the character relationships that we
Hmm.
pretty much stick around for, all the cool, awesome actiony bits, everything is on a whole new level once we get to Arlong Park. And I hope
Yeah.
we get there too, buddy. But that's our review of Romance Dawn. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Alrighty.
Goodbye.
Well, thank you for hearing us, guys. Hope we'll hope to see you on the new one.
All right, take it easy, y'all.